Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. Now we all love chocolates, right? For many of us, whenever we go to have ice creams or cakes, chocolate becomes our default choice. But do you know, in last few years, the prices of chocolates, they've skyrocketed. And this is because of problems in the production of cocoa, which is the primary ingredient that we use to make chocolates. So in our today's discussion, we'll understand the reasons why the prices of chocolates have increased in recent times, okay? And why are we discussing this? Because recently, world's largest manufacturer of chocolates, Barry Callebaut, has announced that it is expecting its sales volume to go down in the next few years. And this is because of unprecedented volatility that is associated with availability of cocoa. And as I've already told you, cocoa is the primary ingredient that we use to make chocolates. So whenever the supply of any desired commodity reduces and its demand continues to remain as it is, you need to understand that the prices of those commodity automatically rise, and this is also what is happening with cocoa. Now this comes among the very important or the very severe crisis that the world of cocoa production is facing, primarily the countries located in western part of the Africa, because these Western African countries are the largest producer of cocoa. Now, because of localized weather problems that these countries are facing, it is evolved into a situation of global crisis where the production of cocoa has suffered and ultimately it has affected the prices of cocoa and chocolates worldwide, and India remains no different. So this is why we are going to understand the problems that is associated with production of cocoa and ultimately the prices of chocolate. Now, these kind of topics have appeared in the prelims examination quite frequently. The most recent one being the question that appeared in 2024. Which of the following countries are well known to be the largest producers of cocoa in the world? Well, if you know the answers, please hold your answers, because if you don't know it already, we'll be solving these answers after our today's discussion, okay? Now, if you want to download the notes, these notes will be available on the Telegram channel known as ATS Live. So you can open your Telegram app. On the top right hand corner, there's a search bar. Click on it and write ATS Live. You'll find the channel. But if you still have problems in locating it, this is the QR code that you need to scan. Now, let us start our today's discussion. We'll first try to understand what are the geographical conditions required to grow cocoa, and then we'll understand what are the major cocoa producing areas in the world and in India. And then based on this information, you'll be able to understand what are the factors that are promoting the less production of cocoa in recent times. Okay. Now, first, cocoa. The biological name of this crop is known as Theobroma cacao, and Theobroma is a very popular bakery in the entire region of Delhi NCR. Now, this is a tropical tree whose seeds, that is cocoa seeds, are used to produce chocolates and even cocoa butter and cocoa powder, which are used in n number of products. Now, what you need to understand that this crop, cocoa, it is native not to Africa, it is native to southern part of America. But it is now majorly grown in different parts of the globe, majorly in Africa, Asia, as well as Central America, right? So we understood the biological name and the native region, that it belongs to South America, not Africa. Now the geographical conditions that you require to grow cocoa plants, right? Now, cocoa, it requires warm and humid climate. Please pay close attention. I'm not saying hot and humid climate, but warm and humid climate, because the temperature that is required to grow cocoa, it is between 21 to 32 degrees centigrade. The ideal temperatures is around 25 degrees centigrade. So understand, you don't need an extremely cold or extremely hot climate to grow cocoa. So the major areas or major cocoa growing areas across the world are the tropical climates, right? Now, the rainfall that is required is between 1500 to 2500 mm per year, and this needs to be well distributed because humidity is very essential to the good growth of cocoa. Similarly, the soil type that you require to grow cocoa is deep, well drained, as well as soil which is rich in organic matter. So these are the geographical and climatic requirements required to grow cocoa. Another aspect about cocoa is that the plant needs frequent shade and wind protection, because these plants are shade loving, and shades actually enable these plants to prevent excessive transpiration. Transpiration basically is movement of water away from roots and into the atmosphere. So when we reduce transpiration, it leads to good growth of cocoa. So therefore, trees like banana trees, coconut trees are often used by farmers to provide shade to the plantation of cocoa, which is very essential to prevent what? to prevent excessive transpiration and loss of moisture. Now, the top cocoa producing areas in the world, it belongs Ivory Coast in West Africa, Ghana also in West Africa, as well as the third largest producer of cocoa is the Southern American country Ecuador. Now, the top producer of cocoa in India are the states Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. What you need to understand, Kerala and Karnataka put together, they account for more than 60% of global Indian cocoa production. Similarly, these two countries, Ivory Coast and Ghana, they also account for 60% of global cocoa production. So this is the top producer cocoa worldwide as well as India. Now, this information will help you understand why the prices of cocoa are increasing. And the first factor that can be attributed to increase in prices of cocoa is the phenomena that we are all aware of, climate change. Now, climate change has actually led to decline in global cocoa production by 13% in the last financial year. Most probably, this is equivalent to the production that happens in world's third largest cocoa producer, that is Ecuador. So, roughly 13% of entire production of cocoa has been wiped out because of climate change and other factors which we'll discuss. Now, the worst hit regions that has faced the brunt of climate change are the major producers of cocoa. As I've already told you, Ivory Coast and Ghana, they account for more than 60% of global cocoa production. And this has created a record supply deficit. And as I've already told you, when day by day the demand of cocoa and chocolate is increasing, and when the supply of cocoa and chocolate reduces, automatically you'll understand that the prices of such commodity goes up or it skyrockets. And this is exactly what has happened with cocoa. Similarly, major chocolate producers, they have a habit of keeping large stocks of cocoa which they can gradually utilize in chocolate production. But this stocks have also suffered because of volatility in prices of cocoa. Usually, the producers of chocolate, they make a reservoir or a storage of 4 months equivalent of their production, but now this has fallen to just 2 months equivalent of production, and this has contributed to global volatility in prices, adding to the upward pressure in the prices of cocoa, right? Now, as I was talking about the reasons that are responsible for decline in production of cocoa, the first factor is climate change, which is the core driver. Now, what you need to understand, entire globe, it is facing the brunt of climate change, and the most witness or the most important criteria that we can witness climate change in our real life is rise in global temperatures. And similarly, rise in global temperatures in countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast, which are major producers of cocoa, has also affected their production. Now, I told you, you require the temperatures between 21 to 32 degrees centigrade to grow cocoa. But in the countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast, we have seen that these countries are witnessing 40 extra days where the temperatures have remained upwards of 32 degrees centigrade, which is negatively impacting the productions of cocoa. Similarly, the region is also witnessing volatile rainfall. There is a very important weather phenomena that we have studied many times in our geography classes known as El Nino. Now, prima facie, El Nino leads to negative impact on Indian monsoon. But when it comes to Western Africa, El Nino has a positive impact on the Western African monsoon. Now, El Nino, when it hit this region, that is West Africa, in late 2023, it led to good rainfall. But in the following year, this particular region witnessed deficit in the rainfall, leading to drought conditions, right? So because of this erratic weather pattern, it led to increase in plant stress and also led to lower yield of the cocoa crops. Similarly, whenever the temperatures of the region gradually rise, it also increases the probability of pest infestations of the crop, and exactly this has happened with cocoa. For example, black pod diseases as well as swollen shoot virus, both of them has affected the plantations of cocoa, pushing the yields further down. So this is the primary factor, that is climate change. It is leading to extreme temperatures, it is leading to erratic rainfall, and it is leading to more infestations of pests, which has overall contributed to less supply of cocoa in the open market. And this has led to what? This has led to upward pressure on the prices of cocoa. Now, there are another human as well as economic factors also, so let us discuss that. Now, another factor is the distress that the cocoa farmers are facing because of poor incentives by their home government. Now, despite record in prices, you'd expect normally that the farmers are making good money out of their cocoa production, but this has not happened because most of these cocoa producing areas, they have controlled or capped the prices of cocoa, and because of this, the farmers are not able to make good incomes despite the rises in cocoa prices. Similarly, farmers are required to shell more on their inputs like fertilizers as well as storage, which has reduced their incentives and has also reduced the amount of profit they are making out of this agricultural activity. So many of the farmers, you'll realize, they are resorting to cross-border smuggling so that they can get good prices of their cocoa production in other countries where the caps don't exist. And this has also elaborated another factor, that is aging of cocoa trees. Now, whenever cocoa trees age, you'd expect that the yields of those crop coming from those trees would reduce. So normally what the farmers do is that they replace this crop by replanting the younger shoots. But this has not happened because farmers, as they are witnessing distress sale, they are not having the adequate funds which would allow them to replenish a new plant and start the plantation again. And that is why, due to aging cocoa trees also, the yields of crops have fallen down, right? So these are human and economic circumstances. Also adding to this fact are the youth that is present in the countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast. They are abandoning their farming activities, particularly farming of cocoa, because the other farmers, when they are not making the money, it sends a negative signal to the entire region. Therefore, the youth who are available in these countries, they are not looking to start cocoa farming as their economic incentive. Rather, they are moving out to other areas and starting to grow other crops. And this has actually negatively impacted new people to enter in cocoa production. And also, many people have resisted, or they have resorted to what is known as illegal mining activities in the country of Ghana. This is locally called as galamsey, right? Now, what cocoa farmers are doing, they are leasing their lands for local mining, particularly to mine gold for short-term profits. But while doing so, what they are doing is that they are permanently destroying their agricultural land, and not just that, they are even polluting the nearby water sources. So whenever these land are leased for gold farming, it negates the possibility of future use of that particular land for cocoa production. So this has contributed to less gross cropped area. And as we have already discussed, due to climate change and due to other economic factors, the yields of the existing cocoa crops have come down, and this has automatically contributed to reduction in the global supply of cocoa coming from those areas which contribute 60% to the global cocoa production. Understood? So these are the all factors that are contributing to rise in prices of cocoa, and as cocoa is the major ingredient that we use to make chocolates, that is why the cost of the chocolates that you're paying right now is increasing day by day, right? Now let us solve the practice questions, but before that I have something that I wanted to convey. Now today is what? Today is 15th of July, and this is also the last date where you have the opportunity to take admissions to one of our 2026 batches. And this becomes very critical, especially for the students who are looking to give their attempts for UPSC exam next year, because what you have remaining is about 10 months of time, and 10 months of time is good enough if you have right guidance, if you have right approach, and if you have right content. And all of this is provided to you in our resolution batches. Now we also have batches for students who are looking to give exams in 27 and 28, so decide accordingly. But please hurry up. Today is the last date for admission, and you'll get this admission at a discounted rate of this much by using the code ATS Live. We also have a number 924023 and 1070. You can call on this number, ask them for their advice, and they'll help you to choose the courses accordingly, right? So please do not forget to let them know to use the code ATS Live, because it helps you save 7,000 of your hard-earned money, right? Now let's solve the practice question. I told you there is a PYQ in 2024. Which of the following countries are well known as the two largest producers of cocoa in the world? And as you can see, it is Ivory Coast and Ghana. So option C is the right answer here. Okay. I've also curated a practice question. I want each and every one of you to solve this question, and do let me know the correct answers in the comment section. Which one of the following best describes the term galamsey, sometimes seen in the news? Now we have discussed this topic, so it would be quite easy for you to answer this correctly. If you answer this correctly, you'll receive a thumbs up from my side, so that you'll know you've done it right, right? And once again, if you want to download the notes, These will be available on the Telegram channel ATS Live. So subscribe to it if you still haven't and download the notes. We'll see each other again. Please have a very good night.